Captain Jack Thorne stared at the view screen with his trademark blend of curiosity and suspicion. The massive alien vessel hanging in space before the Earth ship Audacity looked like someone had taken a crustacean, blown it up to the size of Manhattan, and then decorated it with Christmas lights. "Well, that's certainly distinctive," he muttered, running a hand through his perpetually disheveled hair. "Anyone else getting space lobster vibes, or is that just me?" Lieutenant Commander Olivia Barnes, his tactical officer, snorted without looking up from her console. "If that thing starts melting butter, I'm hitting the emergency thrusters." "Scans complete, Captain," announced Dr. Maya Rodriguez from the science station. "Biosigns indicate approximately 4,000 lifeforms aboard. Their technology appears to be roughly comparable to our own, though their propulsion system is interesting. They're using some kind of gravimetric manipulation I haven't seen before." Jack nodded, drumming his fingers on the arm of his captain's chair. "And they just happened to be cruising through our newly established colony sector? That's one hell of a coincidence." "They're hailing us again, sir," reported Communications Officer Theo Kim, still broadcasting on all frequencies. "Either they're really eager to talk, or they have no concept of communication protocols. Or they want everyone in the sector to hear whatever they're about to say," Jack mused. "Put them through, Theo. Let's meet our new neighbors." The view screen flickered, and Jack found himself staring at a being that somehow managed to look both regal and ridiculous at the same time. The alien had iridescent blue-green skin, 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern, and what appeared to be ceremonial headgear that resembled an elaborate fountain. "Greetings, humans of the vessel Audacity." The alien's mouth didn't move in sync with the words, some kind of translation device, Jack assumed. "I am Ambassador Kryx of the Zeluvian Alliance. We come in peace and prosperity." Jack put on his diplomatic face. "This is Captain Jack Thorne of the Earth Exploration Vessel Audacity. We're pleased to make your acquaintance. Ambassador." "Ah, excellent." Kryx's upper eyes blinked independently of the lower ones, which was frankly unsettling. "We have heard much about the humans who have recently joined the galactic community. Your species' rapid expansion and technological development is most impressive. Coming from 4 systems with no prior contact to see our colonies? That's what I call a detour," Jack muttered under his breath before raising his voice. "Thank you, Ambassador. We're curious about your alliance as well. What brings you to this sector?" "Opportunity, Captain. Glorious mutual opportunity." Kryx spread his 4 arms in what Jack assumed was a gesture of openness. "The Zeluvian Alliance has been a beacon of trade and cultural exchange for over 300 of your Earth years. When we detected your colony signals, we simply had to introduce ourselves." Engineer Dexter Wrench McAllister leaned over from his station. "Captain," he whispered, "their power signature just spiked. They're scanning us. Thoroughly." Jack maintained his smile. "Well, we're certainly open to diplomatic relations, Ambassador. Perhaps we could arrange a meeting to discuss." "Splendid." Kryx interrupted. "We would be honored to host you aboard our vessel. Our customs dictate sharing a ceremonial meal with new friends. Your crew would bring much joy to our culinary masters." "That's very generous," Jack replied, "but perhaps we could start with something smaller. Maybe a delegation." "Nonsense." Kryx's fountain-like headgear bubbled more vigorously. "All of you must come. It would be a great insult in our culture to decline such an invitation." Dr. Rodriguez caught Jack's eye and subtly shook her head. "I'm afraid Earth protocols require us to proceed with caution. Ambassador," Jack said smoothly, "we'd be happy to send a small diplomatic team to meet with you first." All 4 of Kryx's eyes narrowed briefly before his expression returned to one of exaggerated friendliness. "Of course, Captain. We understand the need for protocols. A small delegation will be most welcome. We have much to offer Earth in terms of trade, resources, technology, cultural exchange. The possibilities are endless." After the communication ended, Jack turned to his senior officers. "Thoughts?" "They're hiding something," Olivia stated bluntly. "Nobody's that friendly without wanting something." "Their technology is impressive," Wrench admitted. but they seemed awfully interested in scanning our systems during that whole conversation. Maya tapped her datapad. According to the database, we have no records of any Zeluvian Alliance from previous alien contacts. Jack sighed. Well, Fleet Command wants us to establish peaceful relations with new species. Let's proceed carefully. Olivia, Maya, Wrench, you're with me. Theo, you have the con. If you don't hear from us in 3 hours, contact Fleet Admiral Walsh directly and get the hell out of here. Is that optimism I hear, Captain? Olivia smirked. No, Jack replied, heading for the turbolift. That's experience. Every first contact that starts with "we come in peace and prosperity" usually ends with someone trying to steal our stuff. Little did the Zeluvians know they were about to get a crash course in why betraying humans was universally regarded as a spectacularly bad idea. The Zeluvian diplomatic chamber resembled what would happen if an aquarium had a baby with a Las Vegas casino. Water-filled tubes spiraled up crystalline columns, bizarre creatures that looked like electric jellyfish pulsed with bioluminescence, and the floor itself seemed to be made of some kind of living metal that rippled slightly with each footstep. Try not to touch anything, Jack whispered to his team. Especially you, Wrench. The engineer looked offended. That was one time on Proxima B, Captain. How was I supposed to know that decorative sculpture was their equivalent of a sacred cow? Ambassador Kryx glided toward them, flanked by 2 Zeluvians wearing what appeared to be ceremonial armor or possibly very elaborate kitchen appliances. Welcome, honored humans. Kryx's headgear fountain was now emitting a pleasant floral scent. I trust your shuttle journey was comfortable. Absolutely, Jack lied, still feeling queasy from the Zeluvian docking procedure, which had involved some kind of gravitational hiccup that sent them tumbling like socks in a dryer. Your hospitality is appreciated. And please, partake of our welcoming refreshments. Kryx gestured to a hovering tray bearing crystalline cups filled with a swirling blue liquid. Dr. Rodriguez discreetly ran her scanner over the drinks. Organic compounds, some minerals, nothing immediately toxic to humans, she murmured. But I wouldn't drink it if I were you. Jack smiled politely. Thank you, Ambassador. But we've recently consumed our own rations. Of course, Kryx said, somehow managing to sound disappointed with all 4 eyes. Then let us proceed to matters of mutual benefit. Follow me to the negotiation chamber. As they walked, a smaller Zeluvian with less elaborate attire scurried alongside them, seemingly fascinated by Wrench's tool belt. I am Zim, junior diplomatic attaché, the young Zeluvian introduced himself. Is that a multi-phase quantum calibrator? He asked, pointing at what was actually just a very fancy wrench. Wrench grinned. Close enough. Name's Dexter McAllister, but everyone calls me Wrench. I'm the one who keeps the Audacity from falling apart. Fascinating. Zim's eyes widened. We have similar tools, but yours appears more robust. Human engineering. Wrench tapped his belt proudly. We build things to last through anything, including unexpected situations. The negotiation chamber turned out to be a circular room with a floating table that hovered a few inches above the rippling floor. Holographic displays materialized as they entered, showing star charts and mineral compositions. As you can see, Kryx began, gesturing grandly at the displays. The Zeluvian Alliance controls access to several systems rich in rare minerals, particularly novolite and quantum crystals. Jack exchanged a glance with Maya. Those were precisely the resources Earth's expansion program needed most desperately. And you're willing to trade these resources? Olivia asked, her tactical mind already calculating the strategic advantages. Indeed. Kryx's headgear bubbled enthusiastically. A very reasonable exchange. We merely request access to 3 of your colony worlds for mining rights, plus technical specifications for your FTL communication relays. That's quite a substantial request, Jack noted carefully. But consider what we offer in return. Kryx pressed a sequence on the table, and new holograms appeared showing quantities of resources that made even Olivia's eyebrows rise. Enough novolite to power your entire fleet for a decade. Quantum crystals pure enough to revolutionize your computing systems. Maya subtly showed Jack her scanner readings. The mineral compositions displayed appeared legitimate. This is a very generous offer, Jack admitted. But I don't have the authority to negotiate such a significant agreement. I'll need to consult with Earth's Central Command. Of course, Kryx bobbed his head, sending ripples through his fountain. We understand proper protocols must be observed. Take all the time you need, though I should mention the Arcturian Confederacy has also expressed interest in our resources. Back aboard the Audacity, Jack immediately called an encrypted conference with Fleet Admiral Penelope Walsh. It sounds too good to be true, the Admiral's hologram stated flatly. Her perpetually stern expression had earned her the nickname Granite Face throughout the fleet. That's because it probably is, Jack agreed. Maya found discrepancies in their account of their territorial holdings, and Wrench says their technology doesn't quite match up with their backstory. Something's off. Again. Unfortunately, the Colonial Resource Committee is already salivating over these minerals, Walsh sighed. They're pushing for immediate agreement before these Arcturians beat us to it. With all due respect, Admiral, we should proceed with extreme caution. Noted, Captain. But not entirely your call. The committee is sending specialized negotiators. You're to maintain diplomatic relations and learn what you can about these Zeluvians. After the call ended, Maya approached Jack at politicians and their shiny objects, she muttered. Never ends well. Keep digging, Jack told her. Whatever the Zeluvians are hiding, I want to know about it before we hand over any colony access codes. Meanwhile, in the ship's mess hall, Wrench was surprised to find Zim, who had apparently been granted visitor access. Your food smells fascinating, the young Zeluvian exclaimed, eyeing Wrench's sandwich with all four eyes. Want half? Wrench offered. It's just turkey and cheese. Well, synthesized turkey and cheese. As they shared the meal, neither realized they were forming what would later become a crucial connection, one that would ultimately save countless lives when the Zeluvians' true intentions became clear. 2 weeks later, Captain Jack Thorne was beginning to feel like the only paranoid person at a surprise party. Earth's negotiators had arrived, fallen head over heels for the Zeluvian trade proposal, and were now celebrating the signing of what they called the Deal of the Century, made in the Audacity's main conference room. To interspecies cooperation, declared Chief Negotiator Victor Harlow, a pompous bureaucrat with a smile so practiced it probably had its own exercise regimen. He raised a glass of actual champagne shipped in specially for the occasion toward Ambassador Kryx. To mutual prosperity. Kryx responded, his fountain headgear now sporting festive colors that pulsed in time with the ambient music. Jack forced a smile while catching Maya's eye across the room. She gave him a subtle head shake, still no concrete evidence of deception, just a growing pile of inconsistencies that everyone else seemed determined to ignore. Cheer up, Captain, Admiral Walsh murmured, appearing beside him with a glass of water. Unlike the negotiators, she hadn't touched the alcohol. I know you have reservations. They're scanning everything, Admiral, Jack replied quietly. Every time we let them aboard, our systems detect unauthorized access attempts. Wrench has been playing whack-a-mole with their probes for days. Keep monitoring, she instructed. But discreetly. The trade agreement is signed, and we need those minerals. Yes, ma'am. The celebration continued into the night. Jack noticed that the Zeluvians, despite pretending to drink, never actually consumed anything. Instead, they engaged Earth's representatives in increasingly detailed discussions about colony defenses, communication systems, and transportation schedules. By the time the negotiators departed back to Earth 3 days later, the Zeluvians had been granted preliminary access to 2 colony outposts for resource surveys. Jack's protests had been noted, filed, and thoroughly ignored. At least we've got eyes on them, Olivia told Jack as they watched the Zeluvian shuttle depart from the Audacity. I've got my best security team stationed at both outposts. And I've installed some special monitoring equipment, Wrench added with a mischievous grin. Nothing in the agreement prohibits us from keeping tabs on our new friends. Jack nodded. Maya, any progress on those biological samples you collected? Something interesting, actually, the science officer replied. Their cellular structure contains an unusual protein complex that reacts strongly to specific electromagnetic frequencies. I'm still running tests to determine exactly what. The ship's alarm suddenly blared to life. Captain. Theo's voice came over the comm, and multiple ships just dropped out of FTL. They're Zeluvian design, but much larger than Ambassador Kryx's vessel. Battle stations. Jack ordered, already running for the bridge. All hands, prepare for possible hostile action. They arrived to find the view screen filled with 7 massive Zeluvian warships, their hulls bristling with what were unmistakably weapon ports. They're powering weapons, Olivia reported, her fingers flying over the tactical console and jamming all frequencies. We can't contact Earth or the colonies. Ambassador Kryx's face appeared on the screen, his formerly friendly demeanor replaced with cold efficiency. The decorative fountain headgear was gone, replaced by a military-style helmet. Captain Thorne, he said, not bothering with the translation delay that had previously made his speech seem awkward. Your vessel is now under the control of the Zeluvian Alliance. Power down your systems immediately. What is the meaning of this? Jack demanded. We have a signed agreement. A convenient fiction. Kryx interrupted. One your greedy politicians were eager to believe. Sir, Theo whispered urgently, I'm getting distress calls from both colony outposts. They're under attack. Jack's blood ran cold. Kryx, if you harm those colonists, they will be unharmed if they cooperate, Kryx stated. Unlike many species we've encountered, we do not needlessly destroy potential resources. Your people will make excellent workers for our true masters. True masters? Jack repeated. Kryx's face showed something like pride. The Zeluvian Alliance serves the Vex Dominion, the true power in this sector. We identified promising species, infiltrate their defenses, and prepare them for integration. Your technology and resources will soon serve the Dominion, as do we all. Admiral Walsh will never allow. Your Admiral Walsh's vessel was disabled 20 minutes ago, Kryx said dismissively. Really, Captain? Did you think we weren't monitoring your military communications? We've known every move you planned to make before you made it. The bridge crew stared in stunned silence as tactical displays showed Zeluvian forces systematically taking control of human outposts throughout the sector. We've lost contact with Earth, Theo reported, his voice hollow. Your species showed such promise, Kryx continued, but ultimately you fell into our trap with embarrassing ease. The Vex will be most pleased with this acquisition. What happens now? Jack asked, playing for time as Wrench frantically worked at his console, fingers flying across the controls. Now? Kryx seemed amused. Now you and your crew will be escorted to mining outpost Sigma 9, an abandoned facility on a planetoid in the Tau Ceti system. The radiation levels are unpleasant but not immediately lethal. You'll survive long enough to witness the integration of humanity into the Dominion before your supplies run out. And if we refuse, then your deaths will be immediate rather than prolonged. The choice is yours, though the outcome remains the same. As the view screen went dark, Jack turned to his crew. Defeat was not an option, and neither was surrendering. If these Zeluvians thought humans would go quietly into the night, they were about to learn a very important lesson about the species they had so foolishly betrayed. Mining outpost Sigma 9 was, as Kryx had promised, a complete dump. The abandoned facility clung to the surface of a barren planetoid like a tick on a particularly unfriendly dog. Radiation levels were just high enough to make long-term survival questionable, and the life support systems wheezed like an asthmatic grandparent climbing stairs. Home sweet home, Jack muttered as the Zeluvian guards shoved the last of the Audacity's crew into the facility's main chamber before sealing the airlock behind them. They've left us minimal supplies, Olivia reported after a quick inventory. A water reclamation system is functional but inefficient. Food for maybe 3 weeks if we ration carefully. The communications? Jack asked, already knowing the answer. Theo shook his head. They stripped everything, not even a basic transmitter left behind. How considerate of them. Maya remarked dryly. They want us to die slowly while contemplating our failure. Jack surveyed his crew's 67 men and women who had followed his orders and now found themselves marooned on a radioactive rock. Their expressions ranged from shock to anger to fear, but not one showed defeat. "Wrench," Jack called. "What's your assessment of this facility?" The engineer was already examining an access panel with the intensity of a jeweler appraising a suspicious diamond. It's old Martian Colony Corporation tech, early terraforming era. He pried open the panel, revealing a nest of dusty wiring. They'd built these outposts to last through solar flares, meteor showers, and corporate budget cuts. There's more here than meets the eye. Jack nodded. Everyone listen up. Contrary to what our blue friends believe, this isn't where we give up. This is where we start fighting back. With what? Someone called from the back. They took our weapons, our ship, our communications. They took our stuff, Jack agreed. But they made a critical error. They left us with our brains, our training, and most importantly, he gestured around at the cramped, dilapidated outpost. They left us with human ingenuity and a big pile of junk. Throughout history, that combination has proven repeatedly fatal to those who underestimate it. The crew straightened slightly. It wasn't much, but it was a start. Teams of 4. Jack continued. I want every inch of this facility mapped and catalogued. Anything that can be repurposed, repaired, or weaponized, I want to know about it. Maya, find us a way to shield against the radiation. Theo, I need you to find or build something, anything that can transmit a signal. What about me, Captain? Wrench asked, already elbow deep in the facility's systems. Jack grinned. You're going to help me steal us a spaceship. While the crews dispersed to their assigned tasks, Maya pulled Jack aside. Captain, about those biological samples I mentioned. I completed the analysis before we were captured. And the Zeluvians have a unique cellular vulnerability. Their cells contain protein structures that destabilize when exposed to a specific electromagnetic frequency -435.8, MHz, to be precise. It causes temporary neural disruption. Jack's eyebrows shot up. You're saying we can stun them with radio waves? Essentially, yes. A strong enough broadcast at that frequency would incapacitate them for several minutes. It wouldn't work against other species, but against Zeluvians. It's a start, Jack nodded. Work with Theo. If we can build a transmitter, we might be able to weaponize this discovery. Days passed as the crew transformed from shell-shocked prisoners into a determined resistance force. Wrench discovered a maintenance hangar containing a derelict mining shuttle, non-functional but potentially repairable. Olivia's teams found a cache of mining explosives that had been overlooked during the facility's decommissioning. Most promising of all, Theo and Maya cobbled together a crude communication device using parts scavenged from the life support system's redundant components. It's not pretty, Theo admitted, showing Jack their creation a mess of wires, circuit boards, and what appeared to be a repurposed food processor. Range is limited, and we can only broadcast in short bursts without frying the circuits. But it should reach the nearest relay station. If the Zeluvians haven't destroyed it, Olivia pointed out. Even if they have, we have another option, Maya added. The same frequency that disrupts Zeluvian neural function can be modified to interfere with their ship communications. We could potentially send a message to Earth by piggybacking on their own transmissions. Jack nodded. Do it. Send a tight beam message to any human frequency you can reach. The priority code Alpha 1. Tell them we're alive and fighting back. What about Admiral Walsh? Theo asked. Kryx said they disabled her ship. Penelope Walsh has been preparing for first contact scenarios, including hostile ones, for 20 years, Jack replied with a hint of a smile. If anyone survived the initial attack and is already planning a counteroffensive, it's her. In fact, several light years away, Admiral Walsh was doing exactly that. The Zeluvians had indeed disabled her flagship, the EDF Indomitable, but they had made a critical error in assuming disabled meant defeated. As the Zeluvians celebrated their seemingly complete victory over the humans, They remained blissfully unaware that Walsh had already activated Protocol Consequences, Earth's comprehensive contingency plan for diplomatic betrayal. The Zeluvians were about to learn why. Throughout the galaxy, the most terrifying phrase would soon become, "The humans are angry." And they've had time to plan. Ambassador Kryx was having the best cycle of his career. The human integration was proceeding efficiently, with minimal resistance. Their colonies had fallen quickly, their pathetic fleet scattered or disabled. Soon he would present Earth's resources and technology to the Vex Dominion, ensuring his promotion to Senior Acquisition Director. He reclined in his command chair aboard the flagship triumphant assimilation, sipping a celebratory flask of rare neural stimulant. Status report, he demanded lazily. All systems nominal, Ambassador, reported his second in command. Human resistance has been contained to 3 minor outposts. The communication network has been severed. Integration of their mineral processing facilities is 78% complete. Excellent. Kryx's fountain headgear reinstated now that the military phase was complete, bubbled with satisfaction. He prepare a delegation to the Dominion. I wish to personally deliver news of our success. Sir. A junior officer interrupted, 4 eyes wide with alarm. We're detecting anomalous readings from Sector 7. Specify, Kryx demanded, irritation creeping into his voice. It's the mining outpost, sir, where we left the human captain and his crew. We're detecting an energy surge. Kryx dismissed the concern with a flick of his upper appendage. Impossible. They have no functional technology. Probably just the facility's nuclear core beginning to deteriorate. Respectfully, sir, this signature doesn't match radiation patterns. The ship suddenly lurched as alarms blared across the command center. What now? Kryx snapped. We're being jammed. The communications officer reported, frantically working his console. All frequencies. The pattern is, it's targeted specifically at our neural frequencies. Kryx felt a wave of dizziness wash over him as his neural functions began to stutter. Around him, crew members were experiencing the same disorientation. Impossible, he muttered, struggling to remain conscious. They couldn't know about our biological. Sir. The tactical officer managed to report before collapsing. Multiple small vessels approaching. They're just mining shuttles, but they're heavily modified and... The ship shuddered violently as something impacted the hull. Meanwhile, aboard the lead mining shuttle nicknamed Junkyard Dog by Wrench Captain Jack Thorne grinned as he piloted the cobbled-together vessel directly toward the Zeluvian flagships of the command center. Maya, how's your broadcast holding up? He asked over the crude intercom system. Perfectly, her voice crackled back. 435.8 Mach says at maximum amplitude. Every Zeluvian within range should be experiencing severe neural disruption. But the emitter's getting hot. We've got maybe 10 minutes before it burns out. That's all we need, Jack replied. Olivia, status on the boarding teams. Teams 1 and 2 have breached the lower decks. She reported from her position at the makeshift tactical station, essentially a repurposed mining laser control system. The Zeluvians are disoriented, just as predicted, and minimal resistance. And our surprise package. Wrench says it's ready to deliver. The surprise package was the product of 2 weeks of frantic engineering, a modified mining explosive combined with the outpost's radiation shielding material, programmed to emit a concentrated pulse of the specific frequency that disrupted Zeluvian neural function. The plan was simple. Plant the device in the flagship's central computer core, trigger it, and effectively lobotomize the Zeluvian command structure. As the Junkyard Dog approached the flagship, a familiar voice suddenly came through on their jury-rigged communication system. Captain Thorne, is that really you causing all this commotion? Jack's face split into a wide grin. Admiral Walsh, your timing is impeccable, as always. We detected your signal 3 days ago. Walsh replied, we've been fighting our way back into the sector ever since. Your discovery about their neural vulnerability has been extremely helpful. Earth's defense forces have been deploying modified communication satellites to broadcast on that frequency across all occupied territories. What's the situation elsewhere? Operation Payback is in full swing, Captain. We're hitting every Zeluvian outpost simultaneously. Their coordination has collapsed, seems they never planned for losing their neural network so abruptly. And we've made contact with their masters, this Vex Dominion. That doesn't sound good, Jack frowned as he maneuvered the mining shuttle toward a docking port. On the contrary, Walsh sounded almost amused. Turns out the Dominion is less than pleased with their acquisition agents going rogue. Apparently, the Zeluvians were supposed to peacefully integrate new species through legitimate trade agreements. When we showed the Dominion evidence of the Zeluvians' deception, let's just say the Zeluvians now have problems much bigger than us. So we've turned their masters against them. Jack couldn't help but laugh. That's poetic justice if I ever heard it. There's more, Walsh continued. Junior diplomatic attaché Zim has defected. He's been helping us understand their command structure and weaknesses. Mentioned something about owing a debt to someone called Wrench. From the engine room, Wrench called out, "Tell Zim he still owes me half a sandwich." As the junkyard dog docked with the Zeluvian flagship, Jack and his team prepared to board. Through the viewports, they could see more Earth Defense Force vessels arriving, systematically surrounding the disoriented Zeluvian fleet. "Ready the boarding teams," Jack ordered, checking the makeshift weapon Maya had designed, essentially a focused directional antenna broadcasting the disruptive frequency. Time to personally deliver our terms of surrender to Ambassador Kryx. Operation Payback wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about sending a message to the galaxy. Betraying humanity wasn't just a bad idea, it was the last mistake you'd ever make. Ambassador Kryx had never experienced humiliation quite like this. Kneeling on the command deck of his own flagship, neural functions still scrambled by the human's frequency weapon, and surrounded by Earth Defense Force soldiers and his own disoriented crew. Worst of all was the human standing before him, Captain Jack Thorne, looking annoyingly self-satisfied in a cobbled-together environment suit decorated with scraps of Zeluvian technology. "This is a temporary setback," Kryx managed to hiss, his fountain headgear now pathetically drooping to one side. "The Vex Dominion will not stand for this aggression against their representatives." "Funny you should mention the Dominion," Jack replied, casually examining what appeared to be a modified mining tool that was now functioning as some kind of weapon. "We've been having the most interesting conversation with them, specifically about your unauthorized acquisition methods." Kryx's four eyes widened. "Impossible. Our communications network has been completely compromised," Admiral Walsh finished, striding onto the bridge. Her uniform was slightly scorched, and a nasty bruise decorated her left cheekbone, but her expression was pure triumph. "We sent them comprehensive records of your actions, including your admission that you were operating outside their protocols. They seemed particularly interested in the part where you planned to take credit for Earth's resources," Jack added. "Apparently, acquisition agents skimming off the top is a big no-no in Dominion politics." A holographic communication suddenly materialized in the center of the bridge. The being displayed made Kryx look positively mundane by comparison, a massive, crystalline entity with dozens of appendages and what appeared to be a constantly shifting face. "This is High Executor Vorzath of the Vex Dominion," the entity announced. "I address the representatives of Earth." Admiral Walsh stepped forward. "Fleet Admiral Penelope Walsh, Earth Defense Force. We have reviewed your evidence concerning the Zeluvian actions in your territory," the High Executor stated. "Their deception and unauthorized aggression violate Dominion protocols for species integration. The Zeluvian Alliance has been suspended from Dominion representation, effective immediately." Kryx made a strangled sound of disbelief. "Furthermore," Vorzath continued, "as recompense for their actions, all Zeluvian holdings within 3 parsecs of Earth territory are hereby ceded to humanity. The Dominion recognizes Earth's claim to self-governance and offers a formal non-aggression pact." "This is outrageous," Kryx protested. "High Executor, I have served the Dominion faithfully for—" "Silence." Vorzath's crystalline form pulsed with what might have been anger. "You have brought disgrace upon the Dominion. Your species will bear the consequences of your actions." The hologram vanished, leaving Kryx staring at empty space, His once bright career as thoroughly vaporized as his dignity. "Well," Jack said cheerfully, "I believe that concludes our business arrangement. Admiral, what's the standard protocol for species that attempt interstellar blackmail and colonization?" Walsh's typically stern expression cracked into a slight smile. "According to Earth Diplomatic Code Section 12, Paragraph 9, they find out." 1 month later, ENRISA representatives from 17 spacefaring civilizations gathered in Earth's recently established galactic embassy for what had been billed as an important diplomatic announcement. The Zeluvians, now stripped of their Dominion protection and most of their military assets, had been required to send a delegation. Captain Jack Thorne, newly promoted to Commodore, stood at the podium, surveying the assembled aliens. Behind him was a simple display showing the restored human colonies and outposts, plus the newly acquired territories formerly belonging to the Zeluvian Alliance. "Distinguished representatives," Jack began, "thank you for joining us today. Earth is relatively new to the galactic community, but we believe in learning from experience, both our own and others. Today, we'd like to share a valuable lesson with all of you." He pressed a control, and the display changed to show footage of the Zeluvian defeat their ships disabled by the frequency weapons, their troops surrendering, and their formerly proud Ambassador Kryx kneeling before human forces. "Humanity has a long, storied history of internal conflict," Jack continued. "For thousands of years, we've been perfecting the art of war against ourselves. We've developed contingency plans for every conceivable betrayal, because we've experienced most of them firsthand." The room was utterly silent. "When we began exploring space, we hoped to leave those darker instincts behind, to forge peaceful relationships with new civilizations. The Zeluvians mistook that hope for weakness. They assumed our desire for peace meant we were unprepared for conflict." Jack's expression hardened slightly. "Let me be absolutely clear. Humanity wants peace. We prefer diplomacy to warfare, cooperation to conquest. But," he paused, making eye contact with each delegation, "should anyone mistake our preference for peace as an inability to wage war, the Zeluvians have kindly provided a demonstration of the consequences." The Zeluvian representatives sank lower in their seats as several other alien species turned to stare at them. "Earth now holds open the hand of friendship to all species who wish to engage in honest diplomacy," Jack concluded. "But be warned, betrayal is something humans neither forget nor forgive, and we are very, very creative when it comes to payback." As the assembly dispersed, Admiral Walsh joined Jack near the viewports overlooking Earth. "Nicely done," she commented, "though a bit dramatic for my taste." "Sometimes a little drama is necessary," Jack replied, "especially when you're establishing a deterrent." Walsh nodded. "Well, it seems to have worked. We've received a dozen requests for trade agreements since your speech, all with extremely favorable terms." "Any word from the Zeluvians?" "They've withdrawn to their remaining territories. Apparently they're facing internal rebellion now that their subject worlds have learned about their defeat." Jack smiled, looking out at the blue-green planet below. "You know, I almost feel sorry for them." "Almost?" Walsh raised an eyebrow. "Well," Jack shrugged, "they did try to enslave our entire species." "True enough," Walsh conceded. "I suppose the lesson stands, if you're going to pick a fight in this galaxy." "Don't pick it with humans," Jack finished. "We're sore losers, but we're absolutely unbearable winners."